So welcome back to BSGI 4.0. So sir, last week we talked about the ban by the India on white rice, that is non-basmati rice, and we talked about that what would be its impact on logistics, supply chain, what would be the various marketing issues, and then we ended up that a summit is going to happen between various nations to discuss this issue. So, but before that, there were other developments like IMF is regularly putting pressure on India to remove this ban. So, what's your key take or inputs regarding that?
Actually, we should discuss this issue in an integrated fashion. And maybe as far as India is concerned, what the impact on it is and what it can do or what it is already doing. We take it toward the end of the discussion, if you want.
Okay.
So, second, let me clarify that we were at a stage where we were discussing about the Black Sea Green Initiative and it not being renewed on 17th. No, that is what has to be corrected. It's not a question of one or the other. So therefore, we will come to it because this is the common understanding, or what the common understanding media has given. So that will be point number one. Now, since it did not get renewed on 17th, and there was a lot of criticism of Russia, Russia felt that the idea that hunger in Africa or some parts of it, or the rest of the world, and their food insecurity is attempted to be put around their neck. They were already planning a second summit with African countries, and they speeded it up.
Right.
So last 3 days they're having that summit. So we will come to that what has happened in that summit. Not a summit of the UN. It's a summit which Russia has organized, invited them, and they are there. And the earlier one was done in 2019. That is also not new because Africa is being ruled by a number of countries. So there has been a few months ago a summit with USA, not very successful. A summit with Japan, so a summit with China, and so it is both ways. These countries are trying to understand what the needs of the Africans are. And secondly, there is also a competition for influence. Third, there is a competition for influence for business. Fourth, there is a competition for providing the infrastructure and also the financial arrangements for it. The financial arrangements are quite large. And in that context, China has spent a lot of money developing infrastructure there, ports, railways, electricity plants. So also Russia, but not just recently, even from the Soviet days, before 1991, electricity plants, dams, railway systems, and now nuclear plants, for example, in Turkey, and planned in Egypt. So let's put it together and see that what the NATO and UN has said, and Ukraine has said, what the Russian president now has said in the summit. What is his proposed plan for taking care of the situation and the associated things? So, at the cost of repetition, 17th July last year, 2022, Ukraine and Russia signed an MOU, quote unquote, brokered by UN and Turkey. Why Turkey? Because Turkey agreed to inspect the ships while coming and going, the Ukrainian ships, that they were not carrying ammunition. And UN why? Because UN was interested that the movement of grains to the African continent does not get affected. Every 3 months it was renewed. There was the other side of the bargain, or MOU, that Russian ships carrying grains and fertilizers would be allowed free shipping. Now, fact of the matter is that they were not. So that was the main issue from Russian side this time, that we will certainly allow, and by the way, that continues the statement. You allow free movement of our ships without sanctions, and include the Agriculture Bank of Russia into the SWIFT system. We will renew this. But this part of it never comes in the media. So it happened that on 17th, the MOU was not renewed. Calling it was cancelled, thrown, torn away, etc., etc. is all exaggeration. Something was going to expire on 17th, you didn't renew it, Ukraine did not sign.
That's what we discussed last time.
That's what we discussed. Therefore, now we will take it up from there. No, since you use the term that it was cancelled, and everybody uses that.
Right.
That is why. And that is what Russia or Mr. Putin have countered in this summit, specifically, saying what was the amount of grains which was allowed to pass? 32 million, but that includes sunflower, etc. Sunflower, rapeseed, etc. Maybe you take 20 million tons wheat. How much did go to the African countries, poor countries, developing countries? 740,000 tons, less than 3%. He says, on the other hand, we transported 10 million tons, despite sanctions. Okay, and most of our wheat has gone to that area. Okay, so this is one point he's making. Second point he made was that the poorest countries in Africa, 6 of them, Burkina Faso, Eritrea, would be given about 50,000 tons grain, free of cost, and free of shipping cost. Which means to their home it will reach free of cost. Subject to nobody coming our way. Now on 17th we've also said, but just immediately summarizing this, that on that day the Ukrainian specialized teams bombed the Kish Bridge, which is a civilian infrastructure connecting Crimea with Russia, and it is also a lifeline. Military supplies may be coming, but it is also wheat and fertilizer. A. B. They on that day itself used the heavy usage of cluster bombs obtained from USA.
All we mentioned.
We all mentioned. So therefore, that is the atmosphere. The atmosphere is that you were not trying to make any friendship. You were not trying to say, okay, let's do something together, that the wheat goes out. It's good for both of the countries. You say, my wheat should go out, but yours should not. I will bomb all your facilities, right? And then come and say that you have done something else. Now, that something else is that as they did that, Russia also went and bombed Odisha port facilities, right? Grain silos and all that. So we can connect to the other thing that, it's just to say that grains production. No, there's much more of investment, much more of logistics management goes into harvesting it in time, putting it in the silos and taking it to the market, selling it and getting the money for it. And if you don't, the farmers don't, the next crop, they cannot plant. Now this is what is likely to happen in Ukraine. Reason that the two other alternatives which they had and which they've tried in the last couple of weeks, both have failed. Now what are these two alternatives? Second alternative was to go to the Danube River and from there do river transportation of this grain. But it's not small quantity, these are 20 million tons plus. And then take to one of the German ports, for example, Hamburg, which also now has been actually bought by China. So you are not getting easy way through. But Germany was not interested. So it will overload our facilities, logistics required. A third alternative is to go via Poland, Lithuania, Romania. Romania is on the Black Sea thing also, and Slovakia, and then take it to the other ports and then ship it out. Each one of these countries is objected to it. Two main reasons. That it will overload their logistics facilities, the roads. A lot of it is on the road. And then if they stock it, it will depress the market prices, which will make our farmers unhappy, right? And finally, if there is a problem and if there is a issue of stopping this movement because you stop the Russian movements, etc., there is a problem of having the war in your own backyard.
Hmm.
Therefore, they have told to the UN, EU and UN, please excuse us. So these two alternatives, which were available few weeks ago, are not available anymore. Now, coming to the African summit. Mr. Putin has looked at very wide canvas while giving his initial speech. And yesterday there was the first plenary where 6 major African presidents of Uganda and the African Union President Mr. Usmani, and then Southern Africa's President Ramaphosa, who also took interest in developing a peace plan, the Six Nations peace plan, and is also currently going to be holding the presidency of BRICS next month meeting will be held. And then you have
President
Burkina Faso, young man, yes, youngest person there. And this is the third time they've had coup in the last 1 year. Third time. And I'll come to it that what are the main points of this. And then our friend from Eritrea. Eritrea used to be part of Ethiopia. And there was a civil war and separated out. I will not go into detail who got involved, etc. But Eritrea is full of oil resources. It is as good as any of the Middle Eastern countries. But they have these civil wars. And each one of these countries is favorable to US. And just as an input, yes, some of them have Wagner forces also there. But that is something they have engaged as a private army, right? So we are not evaluating it's a good thing they are there or bad thing. Now coming back to it, basically in the plenary what these people are saying, Ugandan president goes back to the colonial era. Ramaphosa goes back to saying the wealth of the Europeans was counted in terms of number of slaves they had. Okay. And the wealth of the America is built up with the slaves, which were taken. The wealth of England also, you can say, from the diamond and the gold, etc. Every ounce is from this place. They don't have any diamond, gold. Switzerland doesn't have a single ounce of gold. It is all coming from Africa.
Great.
Okay, now, then they talk about development. Then invariably all of them say good things that Russia, even in the 80s and 90s, USSR at that time, provided learning opportunities in the universities and other places to our people. And Ugandan president who opened this was particularly happy, saying most of our senior people in the government, academia and all that, are the ones who studied it. So each one of them recalled. And in fact, even Putin says in his concluding speech that even I did not know that the Soviet Union had done so much for these fellows.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's become history, no? How would you know what happened in 60s and 70s and 80s to India in terms of Soviet Union? Similarly, Africans don't know. So Burkina Faso president is something like 28 years old. Even his father would not know. So he also referred to that my grandfather used to tell what the Soviet Union did for us. So we have quote unquote confidence. So and then Ramaphosa is also saying, Ugandan president is saying, the African Union Usmani, President Usmani is saying it, that we have to reform the multilateral institutions. Without that, there is no chance of our development. And B, that each one of them is saying is time is over that raw materials should be sold by Africa. Ramaphosa put it very, very eloquently, saying they take our dust and it becomes rare metals, rare minerals for the others. They take our uranium dust and make uranium and then want to sell it as 10,000 times the price. And somebody says, we don't want to sell cocoa, we want to sell chocolate. We don't want to sell this you want to say. So they say that you must, basically what it means is that you take us to the next level of value addition. And don't talk about these, we'll give you 100 million, 50 million, 20 million.
So are we saying that they are just exploiting their resources, which normally developed nations does?
No, this is not the issue. You see, African countries, maybe little difference here and there. Most of them were colonized, you see. When they were colonized, and before the colonization, Ugandan president said for 400 years they were taking slaves from here. Okay? So they're not getting anything when slaves are going out. The slave traders who are getting them. And they're getting it free. And then that's the practices of the slaves they don't want to go into. How they will be allowed to reproduce or not, or they will allow to reproduce a lot of them like chickens, etc. I will not go into it. But after that, what has happened is that this is the European companies which have the assets. They have the gold company, they have the diamond company, they have the chocolate companies. Nestle, that means Switzerland, doesn't have a single ounce of cocoa which they produce. Right? So this is all coming from there. Vanilla. Ugandan president said, we got the largest amount of vanilla we produce. Right? But what did we get? So they have not been able to go to the next stage of development. So therefore they are talking about developmental alternatives. And as I mentioned, China is talking to them, USA is talking to them, EU is talking to them, Japan is talking to them. That means all the powers, right? Russia is talking to them. So what they are saying, mind you, they're summarizing it to say that the Russian model of development, Chinese model of development, and Indian model. Because you don't come to say, मेरे को ये सारे mineral का वो दे दो, license दे दो. You say that we'll come and set up a refinery here. Are you interested? You say that I'll come and set a rail line here so that the communication improves in East Africa, for example, particularly so. And they go back to Gandhi also. That he was the one who motivated the National Congress, African National Congress, which brought the independence to South Africa, which is so. Now, summarizing this, I think we might take after a break of a minute or so. Is that therefore now what Russia has said as a strategy, and what these African leaders have said as a strategy. Now, if it meets, and it looks like it has met, right? Because they have come to St. Petersburg despite a very concerted campaign by the West, telling them, if you go, right? But they still have come. The main guys have come. Kenyan fellow has not come, but he was not well actually. He was one of the main guys. But Ugandan guy came, and he is the leader of that group now. So therefore, we have to see it as a strategy. If we see it as a pure politics, American is very good, Russian is very bad, or vice versa, or Chinese death trap and very bad. But you ask the African, what they're saying? They're saying a couple of problems may be there. But this has been the way to develop infrastructure. We don't have money for infrastructure. You think World Bank gives us any cheaper? Now, so with this, the final statement Putin which made yesterday in the plenary, today I don't know what happens, but was that there is $24 billion worth of debt. Hereby we are going to waive it off. And $90 billion my planning commission has approved that we will invest in Africa. Now it's for you to see where to get invested. Now they had also brought companies. They have separate meetings. After all, they have to be company to company agreements and MOUs and all that. So they're going on. Second point which was raised was that 2019, if MOUs were there, what has happened to them? And then it was analyzed that what has happened is that overnight these things don't get converted into factories. COVID came, then this war has come. And that is why we are talking. Do we want to go ahead now?
Right.
Right. So if it is this kind of development, remember that in USA, when the summit took place a couple of months ago, Biden gave $500 million for the whole said that USA will give. But mostly for military aid. Here you are talking of non-military development aid. Okay, of course, come and buy the weapons also, but no. So therefore, this is a geopolitical thing where earlier what countries like China or Russia did it in the houses and they're supposed to be closed and so on. The other people don't come to know, and the media can keep on playing their band.
Right.
In this case, the speeches are in front of you. You can be listening to them live. They can't change them or think of them. Yes, media might take excerpt out of it, and so therefore we have taken excerpts in our links. We have taken full Russian speech. We have taken full translation of the Russian speech, so that anybody can check what's being said. And secondly, as public, as informed people, as academicians, as management students, we can check it 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, what has really happened. And all of this creates opportunities for everybody, and particularly India. Because things like medicine, fertilizers, education, training, so all of these soft skills, soft services, IT, India is for equal quality the least expensive provider. So there's no harm. Russia is doing something and we plug it in. We are doing something and they plug it in. So now we then will come specific to the grains.